See, what we can see is figures are of four types, right? Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3 and figure 4. And figure 1 is considered as the most authentic, means most effective figure, and figure 4 is considered as the least effective figure. It is not so effective. So figure 1 says the why it is called most effective figures and why it is called least effective figure is figure 1 talks about the universal things, universal affirmations, and figure 2 talks about the universal negative, and figure 3 talks about the particular positive, means particular affirmations and particular negatives. Okay, so this don't have a much of validity, but even then. And figure 1 starts with, already, the subject and predicate must be same in figure 1, and the solution would be subject and predicate. Wherever the subject is doesn't matter for us, but the conclusion should come. Subject should come in the first of conclusion part. That is where you are feeling confusion. You say subject of anywhere that has to come as a subject in your conclusion. Suppose for this figure 2, middle term subject, middle term predicate, right? Here also these two should be same. Subject and predicate should be same at the end of the part. And in conclusion we get subject, predicate. Now similarly, subject, predicate, these two must be same, and in conclusion we get subject and predicate. And in the fourth figure we get subject, predicate, subject, and the conclusion would be subject and predicate. So you should not forget that the conclusion should always follow the subject and predicate. Okay, suppose now all banks are good, all good are white. Okay, now these two examples are given. Now you know how to identify subject and predicate. Subject and predicate is nothing but identifying minor. Minor is subject and major is your predicate. So minor is always the first term, major is always the second term. Okay, so this is minor and hence subject. This is major and hence predicate. It is the same for these two also. Now if you see here, the predicate is being covered up, right? Now here the predicate is covered up and here subject is covered up. In your conclusion, what comes as your conclusion? Suppose if your conclusion is coming all, here what should you give? Subject, or here what should you give? Predicate, right? In these two sentences, where is subject? First one, so you give that subject. Where is the predicate? In the second one, so you give that predicate. Okay, now suppose this is which case? This is figure number 4, right? Now if we go for figure 1, let us take one example where figure 1 is there. All good are bank, all white are good. Now if you see here, good and got covered up, right? This is figure 1. Now the conclusion will be like all. Here what you need to do, subject. Here what you need to do, predicate. So in both first sentence, second sentence, in both the sentences, where the subject is there, subject is there in the second sentence. So that is why I write all white. Predicate is in the first sentence, bank or bank. This will be my conclusion. I hope now you got how to write subject and conclusion. I mean subject and predicate from the given things. Now if you take this, if we take the figure 2, if we take figure 2, right? All bank are good. All white are good. Now your conclusion will be all bank are white. So first one in the first one, second one in the second one. Okay. yeah. See, it is not that same. Here all white are banks. So this way we will write. Okay. The second one will be your subject. So and then in the figure 3 also the same. The second one, whatever the subject comes in the second one will be the subject of that. Means let us see the figure 3 also. Yeah. So if you see the figure 3 now, you have to think that, see, everywhere we don't get the same statements. Means all good or bad. Everywhere you don't get all the same. Yes, all. But I'm just taking that particular example, which may not be possible if you see figure 3s and all, because figure 3 says, I already said, figure 3 says it is particular positive. So your conclusion will be a particular positive conclusion. Okay, that is what possible form of moods in figure 3, the particular positive moods, and here particular negative moods, and universal negative moods, and universal positive moods. This is where the possible moods of figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, figure 4. Are you getting? Now if you see the figure 3, but I am just taking the same example of all good are bank, all white are good, to make you understand what to put at what positions in the conclusion part. Now all good are bank, I am taking the same. All white are, all good are white. Now this is figure 3, right? Now the conclusion will be all white are banks. Okay. Now you may think that what is the difference between this and this by looking at the conclusions, right? This and this. This is also all white are bank, all white are bank. Then how do we decide the figures 2 or 3? That is where I said figure 2 always talks about a universal negative. Means you don't get two positive statements in figure 2. You will get one negative statement for sure. Means all bank are good, no banks are good. Like this you will get one negative statement. Pakka you will get in figure 2. If you have finding one negative statement, then you have to think that it is a figure 2 of syllogisms. Okay. Now you see to get to know about the possible logics, logical statements in figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. So this combination figure will help you. Okay, like this. Now a plus a is a. In each. Okay, as I said, the combination. Now there are something called unconditionally valid things. Conditionally valid arguments are there. If you see unconditionally valid arguments in figure 1, we get let us take the combination part. Okay, where is the combination part? AE IO, right? A maps with A maps with E, you get A, you get E. E maps with A, you get O. E maps with E, we get O. I maps with A, we get I maps with E, we get O. There is no combination for O. Now, in figure 1, which is universal affirmations, universal conclusions, you will get. So here A is mapped with A, you get A. So A. Now A is mapped with E and you get E. So A, E is also one possible thing. I mean A, E is mapped with A. Again you get A. Okay. Next, this is unconditionally valid. Now I and EIO. Okay. Why AII? Why AII? So these two are other forms of these two. If you observe, these two are other forms of these two. This is first statement should be this universal. So first statement should be universal. So I am keeping this A as it is. And what is the subaltern for I? A is I. What is subaltern for A? Is also I. So AII. Now first statement is universal. I am keeping it as it is. Subaltern for I is I. A is I. So this is I. And subaltern for E is O. So these are the four things that are possible in figure 1. Are you getting? Now next one, let us go for figure 2. So this focus upon the negative. Okay. This focus upon negative, but universal negative. So what I meant by negative means the negative takes the charge in here. So starts with E, A, means E is mapped with A and you get O. O means E again, subaltern form, right? And again A, E means I am just writing this ulta. Instead of A, instead of E, I have A. Instead of A, I have E. Conclusions will remain the same. Okay, E. So A is mapped with E, you get E. Once again, that is there. And what is the subaltern forms of this? E, subaltern of A is I, subaltern of E is O. So it is EIO. And again, subaltern of E is O, subaltern of E is again O. Again we will get AOO. Are you getting? This is figure 2. Now let us go for figure 3. So these are the valid things. Valid unconditionally. Unconditionally valid. Now there is something called conditionally valid also, that also we will see. So in F3, I mean figure 3, I have already said it is particular conclusions, particular positive conclusions, right? Now let us see particular positive conclusions. I is mapped with A and you get I. So first one will be IA, I. Now next one. A is mapped with I and you get I. A is mapped with I, you get I. Means I am telling the first one remain the same. Second one, instead of E, I am keeping I and I. This particular positive. So now the same thing has to be repeated with what? Negative things. Now E is mapped with A, I is finished. Now A is mapped with I is finished. Now we have to repeat with the E. So what we get? What is the subcontrary? What is the other form? Opposite of I? It is O. So O. A is already there. In middle you don't need to change. And again O. Again for this. What is the other form in opposite of E? IA, it is E. I, middle term will not be changed. And once again it is for I. it is opposite is O. So like that. Here we are considering subalterns. Here we are considering just opposite of it, subcontraries. Okay, that is how we form figure 3. And figure 4, first one, let us start with AEE, IAI and EAO. Since we don't have any possible combinations for O, what we are going to take is non-repeated words. So non-repeated terms means here AAA is repeating, so we are not considering that. So instead of that, what is non-repeating? AEE is not repeating, means the first and last is not the same. That's what I meant. And EIO is not repeating. And then IAI. So EIO is also here, EIO is also here, EIO is also here. And here what we are considering is first, in the first combination AAA is all the same, so we are considering AEE. Okay, then the second combination, these all are EAO, EEO, it's O is the same, so we are not considering that. And here we are considering both the forms, IAI and EIO. So EIO and IAI both we are considering. So that is how it becomes figure 4. Now you remember this. Let us see what is conditionally valid statement. Now conditionally valid. Now let us write once again so that it will remind for so AAA are there, EAE, then A, what is the subaltern for A is I, subaltern for A is I, E, what is the subaltern for A is I, what is subaltern for E is O. Then in figure 2 we start with EAE, then AEE, what is subaltern for EIO, then again it is AO subalterns. And in figure 3 we consider IAI, it's A Katam. If you see, all the first terms are I here. Now next AII, then what is the opposite, subcontrary for O is I is O, and A, what is subaltern for O, subcontrary for I is O, and again E, subcontrary for A is E, I, and subcontrary for I is O. And it is figure 4. Figure 4 we consider non-repeated ones, AEE, IAI and EIO. Okay. Now if we see conditionally valid statement is, it is like a cause and effect. Okay. Conditionally valid statements, it is just like cause and effect. Now in conditionally valid statements is unconditional, let us write this is conditional. Figure 1, in figure 1 we have AAI and EAO. These are conditionally valid, means I will tell you. In figure 2 we get AEO EAO. In figure 3 we don't get anything. In figure 4 we get AEO. So what we can observe in all these examples, AAA means all, S R P, all, which is figure 1, all, MR, S, right? This is figure 1. Now if you see this is matched, and then conclusion will be sum AAI. So sum MR P. Here the subject is existing, right? And predicate is also. So in here, so for these things, yes, exist. Now if we come for where the middle term exists, so we will be having in this only AAI are conditionally valid, so EAO and EAO. In this case the middle term exists, and in the last case AAI is where the predicate exists. Okay, this is conditionally valid statements. How many are there? 1 2 3 4 5. So these 5 only are repeating everywhere else. AAA, AEO, EO, AAI, right? So 5 valid statements in conditionally valid statements are 5 in different forms. That is where subject exists, where middle term exists, when predicate exists. When predicate is existing, only one form is valid, that is AAI. Because in that example only you could have seen that the predicate is existing. And if you see for EAO, no SRP, and all SR and all answer should be some or not. If we take this in figure 2, that is what, okay, remember that is a figure 2 statement. So MP, okay, here predicate has gone already, right? These two will not be matched. Predicate of both the statements are not been there in figure 2, but as exist, subject exists. And if you see it as a figure 1 also, RP or M RP, this is in figure 1 example. So predicate and subject has gone. Let me take it as P only. Then predicate, one subject has gone, but still you have a subject for sure. So that is why subject exists here. Okay. In figure 2, if you go for it, then predicate will not be existing, but subject will still exist in these forms. That is what the combinations. Okay. So this is different ways of syllogism things.